You'd like to kick us off, Madam Chair?
Call to order. Start out with our roll call.
All right, well, good evening. This is the Oregon City Arts Commission meeting for April 20th. And Tammy Jo Wilson.
Here.
Tima Carlson. Here. Jen Woodward. Here. Josh Planton.
Here.
Let's see. Choir Hogan.
Here.
Karen Burrig.
Here.
Emma Lugo.
Here.
Did I miss anybody? Trias Andrews.
Here.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
All right, first thing on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. I believe we need motions for that,
I
correct?
motion for us to adopt the agenda.
Yeah, if there's no discussion, you can just make a motion to adopt.
I second.
Motion to adopt then. Yeah.
Yep, and I second it.
Okay,
Karen, yeah, okay, good, got it.
we're good, we good. We
All right.
sufficiently motioned and seconded. Next, moving on to approval of the minutes from March 16th. Anybody have?
I just have one thing, it's probably been the case the entire time, but my last name is spelled wrong.
Oh, my goodness.
Spelled correctly here.
B,
It's,
B-
I know it's tricky, so just,
B-U-E-R-H-I-G. Well, Karen,
now
that's,
it's a real mess. Yeah, so B-U-E-H-R-I-G, so and here the letters are swapped around.
I put the R in the wrong place, don't I?
Yeah,
B-U-E-R-H-I-G.
yeah, and there's no N at the end.
All right, so the way it is on the tag is correct.
Well, no, actually.
It's not, okay, what?
The way on it, on the way, if the H and the R were switched on the tag.
Can you just give us a slow, quick spelling for the
Yes, I sure
record?
can.
Thank you.
That's helpful.
Okay.
It's B-U-E-H-R-I-G.
So it's.
B-U-E-H-R-I-G.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I apologize, because it's probably been close to a year now.
Yeah.
Where
That's how closely I've been looking at these minutes.
I appreciate that, Karen. Thank you. And my apologies. I'll make sure that gets corrected.
All right, anything else? Any other adjustments, thoughts on the minutes?
Okay.
All right, we can accept move to accept the minutes.
Yep. I motion to accept the minutes for the March 16, 2023 meeting. I second.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I'll
Thank
second.
you, Barb. Okay.
All right, easy peasy.
Well, don't we have to?
All those in
vote?
favor?
Like, all in
Oh, do we
favor?
vote on the minutes?
I don't think we need to vote. I think if, well, you all just, if there are any, say, make a motion to approve, that's seconded, and then if there's any, then yes, you do vote. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so I guess we're at the voting point then.
That's correct.
So, yeah, I think.
Oh, do we just do it all those in favor? All in favor? Aye.
Yeah.
Are there any opposed? No. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, moving forward. So our first item up for discussion is the draft of the RFP for the new pending artwork to be located on 7th and Center Street, created so generously with their time. It looked really good. It was really thorough. And I love now that we have a foundation that we can use going forward for future calls. I thought it was really well thought out. We can take a minute if the commission would so choose, if anyone didn't get a chance to look at it, if you want to peruse. But I don't have any additions or subtractions.
Do we have any other copies of the?
Would you like me to make some copies and pass them
Yeah,
around?
or you can share it with me if you want, up to you, or do you want a copy?
I just want to look at it.
Okay.
I'm happy to go make copies if that would be helpful. May I just go ahead and take the,
Oh, okay. There's one there.
Oh, I got two of something.
oh, I didn't get any of something, so it's probably. And while I step out to make a copy of the draft RFP, and yes, thank you for putting this together. I think there is also an important conversation to have about the amount of money that we've received in the insurance settlement and whether or not we actually do want to issue this RFP. So if you want to begin that conversation while I make photocopies.
So, yeah,
We are allowed to spend the money from the insurance company, and then we add a little bit extra to it, so we've got $6,000. It does not have to be spent at that location, and it does not have to be spent for a statue. It can be spent for another public work of art that this body chooses.
Yeah, thank you. That was an important addition that I just learned in reading the report.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that just opens up so many
Right,
options we
so
haven't even
I
talked
think-
about yet.
So we can, this is a great starting point. We can talk about this, but we can think about other options as well. I'll go make a copy of this.
oh, sorry.
Do you want to go first, Claire?
Well, no, I just reached out to a bunch of sculptors. So, for sure, like I talked to a foundry and I was assuming it was a bronze sculpture that was cast, but having seen it before. And so found out how much that costs. And then I reached out to ADX Portland, which I don't know if you know what, that's a,
Yeah.
yeah. So.
I don't know what it is.
Okay, it's really
For everybody else, yeah.
Yeah, so it is kind of like it's kind of like an artist collaborative studio, but it's for fabricators, like people who do three-dimensional stuff, and they so you pay like a studio fee, and you can use their huge CNC router and their 3D printer and stuff like that. So I talked to the manager of that and just described, the fact that we need an outdoor sculpture and this is our budget, and he felt that. People working there, fabricators, and I'm not trying to be like, we should just put the call out to these people, I'm not saying that at all, but he was like, I think that's a doable budget, it's tight. So if we want to do something different than a bronze sculpture, and I also reached out to people who do wood carving and things like that to find out pricing. So if we're doing a different type of sculpture, it is doable in that budget. So, yeah.
Have you seen the original?
Yeah.
Was it stone?
I didn't think it was bronze.
I thought it was
stone.
No, I would guess some sort of metal because it had a rusted finish.
Yeah.
So probably steel, maybe?
Because when it was hit, it shattered.
Did it?
Oh.
I didn't see it after I got hit. Trieste?
Yeah, that
Trieste?
was an excellent report that you put together. Thank you so much, Choir. And so I kind of followed up also with Nicole Nathan, who was from the Lake Oswego Arts Council, because they have a whole sculpture project for Lake Oswego that is ongoing. And, they kind of not only, have sculptures go through the town, but they also, as a city, owns it after a while. So she confirmed also everything that you said. She said they ran into the same problem when they first started. They had a damaged sculpture. They had they had $8,000 to spend on it, and the quotes came in at $20,000 minimum. So I said, what do you usually spend for a sculpture? And she said it's about $20,000 to start, and it goes up from there. And then I said, how do you fund it? And so what they do, and everybody here knows what a strong art community Lake Oswego has. They get a 1.5% of the city's, I think it's the capital planning, or even just from the city's funding. 1% goes to ongoing artwork in Lake Oswego, and the other 0.5% goes to the upkeep. So, and then they had somebody go through all of the artwork.
When you take a copy, it's 2 pages.
2 pages, okay.
First page is front and back.
They had somebody go through, and I think they even paid them, she's gonna give me the costs on it, but they had somebody do an inventory of all the artwork in Lake Oswego and in what condition it is right now and what has to be refurbished.
Yeah.
So,
Was there more copies? We ran out halfway across.
Oh, I thought we only needed 6, because there were a couple other copies floating around.
here's, I think I might have missed.
Didn't we have 2
on my-
copies?
And you know what, I missed
make
it on the way over. I think I just, sorry. I was talking, so let me
Yeah.
keep that for myself.
Okay, there we go.
Those go through. There, I think we did it.
Keep one, Corey, keep one.
Yeah.
Yes, Trish, thank you. That's really helpful to think
Yeah.
about their program. One thing that I've been thinking about that sculpture, having seen it, looking at the pictures of it again on Google, thinking about the budget, and as someone who lives on Center Street and would drive by that sculpture all the time and see it, the thing that always occurred to me in relating to it is the figures would literally make me slow down because it looked like people potentially waiting to cross the street.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And even though I saw it all the time, my brain would be like, well, I'm not, didn't want to take the chance of like, oh, it's just a sculpture. No, every time I was like, is it though? And I would see figures standing at the corner as if to cross the street. And I would be more cautious. And I would bet I am not the only one that would take that corner, accident aside, take that corner more cautiously.
Yeah.
And there's that 7-Eleven that's right there. And that's also part of why, because I know people cross there, even though there's the tunnel that they should use, they just don't know it's there. And so I think that's an interesting thing to consider how us as a community related to it, not just as like a beautiful work of art, but how it, just the relation to what it was in the space and how it made us feel and act and behave differently.
Yeah.
Josh, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I didn't have anything.
Oh, you just looked like you were going to say something.
To the mic.
Okay.
No, your comment about, car accident aside from people trying not to hit people there, that got me laughing, so.
Okay.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that it would make you slow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, I have that same experience, but are you saying that in the sense of you're supportive of us having a sculpture that's replaced in that location? Is that what you're also saying?
I'm saying that we need to be thoughtful and considerate to how people would react if we didn't put a sculpture back
Yeah.
Right.
in that location and how it would change our relationship with that space and that part of our city and and the value that it brought when it was there.
And then the piece, and I know I skimmed what you wrote, but it sounded like
Wow.
the,
You talking to the mic?
Oh.
Is that what you're?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're really far from your mic.
I'm really far from the mic that isn't here. Okay, so the question that I have is, it sounded like the sculptures would be more than the $6,000. Is that right, or is it not? I guess I'm just confused.
Bronze sculpture.
Bronze and stone carving
Would be, but something else would.
It's possible that you could do like wood or some type of fabrication for
Okay,
less.
for less.
Yeah.
And so this could be a reasonable budget, is what you were saying.
Yeah, I would like to point out that I feel like when I spoke with the ADX manager, he was just like, it would be tight, it's doable. I would like us to have a budget that isn't like an artist like underselling themselves and not actually getting paid. So like, I mean, if it's not, it may not be possible to have a $20,000 or $30,000 budget, but could we find a way to be like, it's a $10,000 budget and there's cushion for, things, so,
Is there a way to fundraise for additional?
We can't really fundraise.
I mean, we have money in our budget too.
yeah.
And did we find out for sure if we can apply for the Metro Enhancement Grant as a city organization? I think
so.
I thought there's a line in Metro Enhancement Grant that allows that.
Trias had asked me to do some research to confirm. I did get one opinion that was positive, but I do want to talk to another person in the, so the question is, could the Arts Commission apply to the Metro Enhancement Grant? I do want to do a little bit of additional research. The one person I did chat with gave me a thumbs up.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah, that surprises me.
It surprises me.
What are the deadlines for that?
The enhancement grant deadline is June 1st.
June 1st. And what is the closing date on our grant?
Our grant deadline is a week from tomorrow, April 28th.
Okay. Because there's the potential that there won't be requests all the way up to the amount, so there might be money within our budget.
And the Metro Enhancement Grant is like 300,000 this year, so there's a lot of money in that fund.
I mean, we also have the option of not spending all of our money on the grants that we've written. We could spend some of it on this RFP, couldn't we?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, everybody else, yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's an opportunity for this community to get involved with helping raise funds if there's such a love for the sculpture. What was the name of the sculpture?
The sculpture was called Ancient Voices.
I feel like there would be a lot of support to do something similar or at the same location. It might be worth looking into. T-shirts or something.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Can we lead a fundraising drawing?
James did say we could. I remember applying for
Early
grants.
on, when we were doing strategic planning for the Arts Commission, we did talk about wanting to do additional fundraising, and that was something that this group can do. If there's a project and you want to do additional fundraising to support it, yes. I do want to, yeah, and I'm sorry I don't have a complete answer, but I'll try to get it tomorrow. I know who else I need to ask. One caution that James did share with me this afternoon is that he would like to allocate the money. So if we've got that insurance money, right now it's just in a big general, it's just mixed in with all the other funds. It's not in a dedicated spot. And he advised me to share with you that it's something that should be allocated sooner rather than later. Doesn't mean that you have to have a complete new work finished by the end of this fiscal year, which is June 30th. But if you had an idea that you wanted to pursue and had started to, and could undertake some kind of contract with an artist or something to begin the process, then I think that would be an important thing to do.
Josh, you have a question?
No, I just had a couple comments I wanted to give. So a couple thoughts I have is we could wait a week, see what we get in terms of responses to our application grant request, and see if someone comes back with a proposal for a statue that may work in that space, and give them the additional $6,000 for that to see if they could want to up their, total, budget for it. The other option I wanted to toss out there was, could we go do some type of outreach to the high school or the community college and say, we'll pay for materials. Your art students can help create the statue as kind of a community project to, maybe give them the task of, like, we want it to be, the same name, but you guys come up with what you envision with that theme, right? Something like that. But those were two other options I just thought of that might, be an easier way to get around it than try and figure out, if we want to do a $10,000 or $20,000 grant for it.
So when you say we need to allocate the funds, can you describe what does that actually entail?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and I think it's a point I should discuss further with James, our economic development manager. I think he would. What would be important, I think, before the end of this year would be for the Arts Commission to have a directive given. Like, we would like to use these funds for another piece of work, and do something so that the funds are reserved for that use.
So, because we have our call, right, that draft, that we would need something kind of beyond that or more kind of finalized and concrete?
if you issue the RFP, then that's, then.
Well, I mean, even before we issue it, having it, and then, because I feel like we would need to have those funds allocated before we even put the RFP out to make sure it could be carried out.
Yeah,
You
I
know
mean,
what
it's not going to evaporate come July 1. I think what the caution was, because I asked him sort of a similar question, if the Arts Commission is interested in pursuing a sculpture that's going to require a budget that's greater than what we received in the insurance settlement, could they hold on to what they received and do some fundraising? And I think the concern was if you spent 12 months or 24 months or some long period of time, that monies could, I think I believe though that if you made a decision as a commission and passed it, this is what we're going to do, and made it official and passed it by vote by this commission, then we would move that information forward. So I'm sorry if that's not very clear, but I think, so the couple of different options are, send out the RFP as you've thought about doing, and again, maybe there's some other kinds of materials you could consider that could make that budget work. Or come up with a different kind of project, but then you still have to issue an RFP, right? You can't just let's think of something. So have to issue some, so if it's not a replacement piece for Ancient Voices, then it's another, here's the budget that we have, tell us what you would like to do, potential artists. And then I think the third course of action would be for me to go back to my manager and say, let's get some additional information about how we can reserve those dollars. So that's 3 options.
So I am very much in support of having a sculpture back in the place that it was. I think that that's really important. So that's kind of one part of the question. I do think having kind of the additional flexibility with regards to funding would be helpful. It does seem that we might have a couple of routes for that additional funding. One is maybe, depending on how many applications we get for the money that we have, there might be some additional money there. There might be some money that we could potentially apply for with regards to the community enhancement grant, and we would be matching, so that might be competitive. And then there's the fundraising. But it seems to me that perhaps if we are able to have the decision that we would like to be able to have of the replacement sculpture, that would be maybe good enough to secure the funds, the $6,000. And then at the next meeting, we could have a better understanding of how much flexibility our own funding source has. And then we could kind of give the directive of the kind of additional budget that could be there. As we might want to think about it that way. I think that ends up becoming kind of tight if we wanted to ask for the community enhancement funds.
It's getting close.
But anyway, I think that's the route that I would want to go.
I think I hear us heading in a direction, but I think maybe solidifying it would be good. So maybe I'll just start with questions. It sounds like we're all agreeing that a sculpture should go back to replace the sculpture. Is there anybody that disagrees or is still on the fence about that?
I'm not exactly on the fence about it, but I wonder if part of the reason that the sculpture got destroyed, unfortunately, I know that you kept on thinking, well, you shouldn't hit it, because you see it, but somebody did hit it.
Yeah.
And the sculpture used to be up the street. And I wonder.
Was it a different location?
Yeah, and I wonder if part of the reason it got hit was because of where it is. I don't know.
Where did it used to be located?
It used to just be further up 7th, that's all.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly where.
It was at a bend, the previous current location.
Yeah.
It's like at that bend in the road where you kind of come around.
Yeah.
So how would let's take a little bit farther step back. Can we all agree on a sculpture that may or may not be in the same location? Can we agree on that part? Okay.
Along Center Street.
Along Center Street, either in the current past location or the previous past location, if everybody knows what I mean.
Did you,
by
did
that.
you say along Center or along 7th?
Seventh,
Okay,
yes,
yeah,
sorry,
along
thank you for
7th.
correcting me, 7th. And so agreeing that we want a sculpture, what is our thoughts? I guess I know what my thoughts are, but how do we feel about the size of the sculpture that it was? It was kind of like, I don't know, maybe 3-4 foot tall, you know, small, like child size, kind of preteen child. I don't really know how else to describe it.
Walking past it, I felt it was at least like in this range to my head, and I'm like on the base, like I'm like 5 something.
I don't quite interpret what you did. Give me a height estimate on that.
I would say at least 4, like 5,
4 to 5.
5 or more.
It was,
Like,
it was figurative.
yeah.
I
like,
always thought it was
including the
kid
base.
figures, but yes.
Yeah,
So 5 feet
I would say at least 5. Yeah, an average of 5,
approximation.
yeah.
Does anybody disagree with the 5 foot estimate? I will trust you because I drove by it more than I walked by it. So can we also discuss, agree, disagree, thoughts on the size of future sculpture? Do we want it to be approximately the same kind of size and proportions? I would say yes. I think having it being that kind of human approachable, kind of the way that we interact with it, human size is what I would call it in art, is a good thing. Josh? I'm just watching to see your head shake,
I
yes or
agree.
no? Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Can,
yes, go ahead.
just a comment on that. I would want there to be sort of flexibility in the RFP, like that would be a factor, but you would want to be able to have the artist have some flexibility in how they design it.
Yeah.
So I don't
think
know if we
the
can give
path-
guidance, but then.
Yeah, the path I was trying to lead us down is knowing what we want so we can decide how much money we need. Because if we're like, oh, well, maybe just a little sculpture, or maybe we want something twice this, because that's going to change whether we actually need to do fundraising or not.
Yeah.
And so to know what we want, ideally, and then set our budgeting or our potential fundraising according to that.
So with that, I would say no bigger than, but potentially,
Yeah, we could have, like 4 to 6 feet or
something like that. Yeah.
But yes.
I did get in touch with Public Works Department because I wanted to learn if there was a pedestal that was usable. Like, I don't know if there's any engineering or anything in the ground, because I'm sure it was designed to hold, and unfortunately I wasn't able to dig up anything that was that useful. So I might be worth, I don't know what's underneath there, but,
I mean, that was the point that I was going to bring up, even when we looked into, when we talked about that idea at one time about the sculptures, all over Oregon City. That's always outside of the sculpture. You have to choose what it's going to be installed onto. So that's another factor, wouldn't be just the artist's piece of work. And I see in this RFP, which is great, that it has to include the installation, but the installation is an extra cost to the art piece. So we have to consider that.
Yeah, we'd have to figure out if the city's like, okay with like, Public Works are okay with like, we're gonna figure that part out.
Yeah,
Like, we
because
have to know that in advance. Sorry.
no, you're good. Normally you would pour a concrete slabs specifically to have an artwork then bolted to it. And so the foundation slab that the sculpture of its most recent location, I would bet is in somewhat intact. I don't know if the slab from its previous location still exists, but that's something that we would have to explore. And then if either of those are no longer available, then we would have to add the cost of creating a new slab foundation for the artwork to be secured on. And then negotiate with the city, because it would be part of the city sidewalk and potentially city property. So figuring out, is it the artist that pays for building that slab?
Isn't the slab still there? I mean,
It is,
I think
yeah.
I see it, yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine it probably is
Yeah,
fine.
I just couldn't find out. I was hoping to find some drawings so we could understand what was underneath what's in the ground.
Yeah, I think it's about yay high.
Yeah, usually they're like a little kind of raised concrete thing.
If you look at Google Maps, it's like a slab that's about 2-3 inches thick for the base, and it's still sitting there.
Thank you.
I texted James and I said, I asked him to clarify about the enhancement grant. So I am now confident to let you know that the Arts Commission can apply for a Metro enhancement grant.
Cool.
Oh, wow. We should do that no matter what.
Yes, that's true. We should do that no matter what.
Yeah.
I was pretty
Or-
sure I could get the
Oh,
confirmation.
go ahead.
I mean, we don't have a lot of time to
Are
do
there any other
that.
factors that would have, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Josh.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask, are there any other factors that would affect the price besides size and materials, that we would need to maybe decide on now?
You
To
can
know what we
require
want,
any
and then we know.
studies,
Well,
geotechnical
I'm sure that there would have to be some permitting. I mean, especially if something were tall, there has to be wind resistance and all that. Yeah, so I mean, yeah. You may not know that we have a geotech on our Arts Commission, but we do.
Yeah, so I think we at least agree upon what we want to see there in the basic parameters. Yeah. Now we just have to decide, do we want to dream bigger or do we want to work with the budget that we have?
I don't see
Would
how
it,
we
would it be
can do
crazy
this
to
budget.
put the RFP out and like say, if you want to spend more, let us know? And then we'll fundraise around that? If somebody has an idea that we're like, oh, we really love this and we want to be able to.
What about doing like a matching percentage, kind of like the City of Oregon City's doing for this arts, and even the Metro Enhancement Grant, where it has to be a certain percentage matching?
I don't understand what you mean matching. Who's?
Well, so the Metro Enhancement Grant, for example,
Well, I know what matching is. I'm saying I'm just confused because we would be paying the artist. So I don't understand who the other side of the matching.
well, I mean, if the artist was wanting a certain dollar amount to be funded, I guess, might be a better word, but they would contribute a certain percentage either in cash or donation for a certain dollar amount. So the Metro Enhancement Grant is $0 to $9,999 is a 10% matching in kind percentage that the grant requester has to contribute to the funding. So maybe considering something like that, and that would increase the funding and dollar amount available for.
So are you talking about asking the artist to be the matcher?
Well, the in-kind donation could be their hours, maybe working, some hours, a percentage of
Yeah,
hours,
I
something
feel like
that.
artists already do that, and to ask them to
Yeah.
do that more, I'm not comfortable with that. Because we already do that with any art we make inevitably, because it takes countless hours to do that.
So I would propose that we would make an application for the community enhancement funds for $6,000. So we would basically be bringing the total available up to 12,000, and then be able to release. So basically, finding a way to increase to double of what we have. And thinking about doing that through the Metro Enhancement Grant. That's,
It's only that the Metro Enhancement Grant is pretty specific. So we would have to formulate what our idea was.
Yeah.
How we're
Yeah, it
gonna
would be this
fund all of
project
that.
specifically.
yeah, it would be this, but I mean,
Use this.
yeah, we would use this.
This would be
Yeah.
it would be fairly easy
Yeah.
because we would have a very specific
already got
thing.
it.
I mean, there is the match. And it seems like it would be a competitive ask. I mean, and then the other piece would be is if there was the $6,000 or whatever might be available if there's not people within our own call for projects. But
That sounds super
think-
reasonable.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, and I think you could also, if you decide to put together a proposal for the enhancement grant for a replacement piece, you could follow Karen's suggestion, but you wouldn't have to just limit yourself to 6,000. You could
Yeah.
ask.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, that's almost too reasonable. Let's ask for a little more.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you would have to limit yourself to a match that way.
Yeah, I think something to keep in mind is it's an outdoor sculpture. The less amount of money we have is probably gonna bite us later in like having materials we have to upkeep more. So the more money we can give to it, we're gonna have a more stable outdoor ready sculpture, I feel.
And just a more successful, more engaging, more interesting
True,
sculpture.
a cool sculpture.
It'll just be cooler. I don't know. Yes.
So what would your recommendation be if we were to apply for a community enhancement? How much funds would we?
So I know if we went the wood route, the artists would have to know of or find some type of industrial coating, which is probably pretty expensive. I didn't research that. Fabrication route might be a little different because fabrication you can do in metal. So that might be, probably that's the most realistically like cost-effective way to do it. But we might not get like designs that we like in fabricating metal. Again, going back to like the most stable way to make outdoor sculpture is bronze or carving, and then you're going into the $20,000-$30,000 range period. So I don't think
I
that's an
think we
option for us.
Sorry.
Sorry. Oh, it's okay.
I don't think we should get hung up too much on the materials. I know when I think of the public art that I enjoy the most, I find the most engaging, it's usually a mix of materials. There's usually glass and metal and wood, and there's some sort of color in there. It's not so much, the bronze statue of, some sort of monument looking thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that allowing us, the budget and the option to have various materials that could be costly in their coatings,
Yeah.
would be a good option. I see, Josh, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just, quick question. So the Metro Enhancement Grant, the application is due June 1st. Do we know when there will be a decision on that?
Yes, the Enhancement Grant Committee is going to meet on June 14th.
Yes.
Okay, so we probably know by the end of June whether we get the additional funding.
Yeah, and I think even, well, Ann, because you're managing it, but I think it's that evening that they decide and you can be a part of that. And
Yeah.
you know that night if you've gotten the
Yeah,
grant
well-
or not.
Yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
Wow, that's fast.
Well, they received them all ahead of time, and they have a whole week to review them and discuss, rank them, score them before they meet that night.
Emma, did you want to add something?
What if we just used our secret superpower and asked the mayor, who loves this statue, if she can approve money from the city budget to fund this? I mean, we could just make that appeal to her like, hey, Mayor McGriff, we have $6,000, we know you love the statue, but the insurance isn't gonna pay for it. Do you think you
I
can?
don't think our mayor has the authority to do that on her own.
Well, no, I mean, I know she needs the support of the rest of the council, but, I don't know, I mean, it's certainly worth an ask, isn't it? In addition to pursuing the Metro Enhancement Grant, I mean, if we just, isn't that the kind of thing that
Yeah,
would be?
when we met last time, you had asked me too about talking with our finance staff. And one of the answers that I received, we had talked about potentially inviting Matt Zook, who's our finance director, to come to an upcoming Arts Commission meeting, and the answer that I received was for someone from one or more folks from the Arts Commission to go to one of the upcoming budget meetings. So for the next biennium, the city has put out, there's a draft budget for the 23-25 biennium, and it just came out a week or so ago. It's now on the city's website, so you can look at, this is what we're proposing, how we're going to spend money for the next 2 years. And there are a couple of upcoming budget discussion nights, so it would make sense to have somebody from the Arts Commission go to, there's 2 of them coming up, and I'll look up the dates while we're talking.
And when they put that draft together, why wouldn't they have contacted the Art Commission to say, what's your input for this draft budget? I mean, if we go to those meetings, can we actually make changes to it? Or
That's the idea, yeah.
So
Yeah.
does the budget include money for the Arts Commission?
The economic development budget has another,
Pulling it up now.
I mean, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I so agree with Emma that here we are, they formed an art commission, they approved it, they put us in charge of it, and we're looking at grants and we're looking at fundraisers. I mean, and that's just not fair, and that's not what other cities do. Cities that value the art and want art in their city, which we would think they do in Oregon City, because they put together the art commission, we should be able to at least start down the road that we need support, and we need support financially. However you do it, whether you do it with a 1% off the capital planning or you put it in the budget, I mean, we should be going through all of the artwork in Oregon City and making an inventory of what's damaged, what needs to be refurbished, what needs to be redone, and be able to get funding for that. You know, you come into Oregon City and you see these old murals that are flaking and falling apart. It does not look good. There's so much we could do.
And so the idea behind asking the mayor is to kind of keep that conversation fresh
I understand.
with the Metro Council, even though they may not respond, but I think we should do the ask anyways.
No, I understand, and at the start of every city commission meeting, there's time for public comment, and then people come up all the time, and you have 3 minutes that you can, but to the point specifically about the budget, so there's a series of upcoming meetings. The budget committee is going to take this draft, and people in the community are going to be responding to the draft. I don't think there's enough in here for this. I don't think there's, why did you do that? There's 4 meetings coming up. The first one is next week on the 27th, a week from tonight. Then the one after that, May 4th, another meeting on May 11th, and then another meeting on May 18th. So there's 4 upcoming meetings for the budget committee, and that's what they're going to be talking about is the.
Can we all go, or do we have to be under our quorum? Can
I can't
only
go to
4
any of
us
those.
go?
I just,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I went to a meeting yesterday with the steering committee for the art program, and there was a gentleman there that said exactly that. He said, go to your city commission meetings, go there as a team, go there as a group, make yourself heard, because they'll listen. But if you're not gonna speak or you're not gonna make it known, nothing's gonna ever happen.
So I think it would be very appropriate for 1 or 2 people from the commission to go. And maybe we can even decide on multiple of those evenings. So there's 4 upcoming budget meetings. Maybe 2 of you go on the 4th and 2 of you go on the 11th, and, you know.
Would anybody object if I also just wrote to the mayor as a member of the commission asking her to address this personally? 'Cause
I do not object.
I know she has an interest in this statute. Okay.
No objections?
Would we need to review what is being sent beforehand or no?
I mean, if it's your personal letter, then I think you should say what you want to say.
Okay.
So,
I'd be happy to go to the budget committees as well and represent there to ask about that, about, what funds have been allocated and if none, or very low, we, let you guys know, and then we can come back with a proposal for what we want to ask for.
So I'm wondering if we could maybe, I like this idea, thank you, great idea. If we can go at this on two fronts, right? So we go to the mayor, we go to the city commission, make sure that our budgeting needs are being continuously thought about and addressed, and advocate for additional funding for the sculpture, and then apply for the Metro Enhancement Grant, and have our application be for exactly what Trias was talking about. If we have all this public art here, we need a budget so that we can document it, care for it, restore it, replace it, to have a base foundation to care for the work that we already have. Or like that could be our Metro application, which we could then also use if we then needed to for the replacement of the sculpture that was damaged.
I mean, the budget that you can request is a $50,000 budget. So you could potentially loop the two things together. I mean, you could decide how you wanted to do that thematically, or just like make it, we want to both do an inventory and replace that exact,
Exactly.
and combine those two. Is that what you said? Combine both of those in one application?
It would be
Is that what
a
you said?
program to care for,
Got it.
what we have.
Sorry, did I just repeat?
I mean, I know when
No, you're good.
Yeah. When I went for the grant for the murals, that's exactly what we did. There was a portion to refurbish a mural, and then there was a portion for brand new mural. So that would be a lovely idea, is let's inventory, see where we're at, and then have a portion towards whatever we feel needs to be, So you can be able to pay someone to do that, pay someone to do an inventory and look at all the mark and do that research.
And
come
restore
up
the
with a
mural
plan.
if the mural's peeling, or if another sculpture is damaged
Yeah.
that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Would that fall under Arts Commission though? Because once the art piece is installed, it's given to the city for them to maintain, right? So shouldn't they already have a budget for that, for inventory and for maintenance? That's not related to the Arts Commission?
I think the ordinance that they presented 15, 20 years ago had that in there, but it was never approved. So that would have been the way that they would have been able to keep an art process going, plus have money to keep it up to date. I don't think it's ever been decided within the city, what do we do with our art that we have right now? There is no funding for it, there's nothing in the budget. And I think that's a great idea for the Art Commission, that we can maybe speak to that and, make it happen.
I know Daniel was working with James on it before Daniel
sorry.
left, but I don't know where they got to.
Something else to talk to the budget committee about.
What time are
Did you
those
find
meetings?
the form?
Ann, what time are those meetings?
Oh, let me look.
But they're in the evening, 7 p.m.
6 p.m.
Yeah,
6
they're all,
p.m.
they're all at
6
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Yep.
Actually, another question, Anne, for you maybe, is out of the economic development budget and money that the department's asking for tourism, is any of that sub-dedicated to arts?
Going on right now about tourism and the establishment of a destination management organization that would take over and receive some of those tourism dollars. The Economic Development Department has put in our budget request to as part of the city budget process as well. I'm not sure how much of that would be connected to Arts Commission because there's a, I don't have the answer. I know there will be less in the economic development budget, whatever the final number ends up being for our department will be less because it will not have the tourism component to it.
So it sounds like we've reached some sort of decision, even if it feels a little, I don't know, still unresolved. Let's see if I can summarize just to make sure, and for the video and for Anne over there. So we're agreeing we would like to have a sculpture on 7th Street, either in the location where we just lost it or the previous location, depending on why it was moved. We can make that decision. We want the sculpture to be similar in size and open to various materials depending on the budget. We are going to lobby the mayor and the commissioners to increase the budget to allow for a more a budget that'll be allow for broader media, bigger sculptures, just more supportive of the artists and a successful artwork in that location, and also considering the cost of installation, right? Right? And then we're going to apply for the Metro Enhancement Grant to request funding up to $50,000 to begin a program to take care of the public art here in the city, whether that is maintenance or replacement or repair. Did I miss anything?
Well, I am concerned about the Metro Enhancement Grant.
Okay.
Just in the sense of it needs a match, right? And so we would need to have this particular sculpture that we want within that request, right? And how you described the request was more about maintaining the existing structures. And so we would want to make sure that our request was to be able to, we would be using these funds to replace the sculpture that was lost and do these other actions.
I don't know, I think we have to look at the match and kind of think about that, because that is, to me, it's almost two different things. To initiate a fund for the maintenance and upkeep of our public art collection,
or a 40%, for a $50,000 ask requires a 40% match.
Yeah.
But do keep in mind that match includes in-kind match. So if you were doing an inventory of existing art and you had people volunteering their time to help support that inventory, that time counts toward the match. So in-kind match will get you there.
And I think, is it $28.10 now is what the new hourly rate is for volunteer?
Something like that is $27, $28.
Yeah, I think it went up from.
That's how much our time is worth.
So I guess, Karen, my thinking was, if we kept the Metro Enhancement Grant kind of project idea broad enough, it could include that sculpture, but doesn't necessarily have to. It wouldn't be about that specifically, because if we are able to get additional funding for that through the city, which we're going to pursue that, then we could take the money we get for the Metro Enhancement Grant and not need to use it for that sculpture, and use it for all of the other art within the city that would need attention.
Right.
So if we raise additional 6,000, have 12,000, fix that sculpture, and then have Metro Enhancement Grant funds.
Right, we would just need, though, to be aware of however
Yes.
we were matching
Yes.
that. And so maybe I was just recognizing that there's
Yeah.
that two different, I do see them as two separate things too. Right, I see them as two separate things, and so we just have to be conscientious and thoughtful if the Metro Enhancement Grant is applied for, how we represent the match.
Yes. Yes. Any other questions, thoughts on that?
So you're saying you would not want to include a specific sculpture proposal in the enhancement grant?
I wouldn't, because it would sound like we were asking for two things, or we were just asking for that sculpture, and that would get confusing for the grant. Usually it would get convoluted and not work. So we could ask for the sculpture specifically for money with a match, but then we wouldn't have funding to support the maintenance and upkeep of all of the other. We would be just asking for that. But if we ask for funding overall, without making it about that one specific sculpture, we would be able to use that funding on that specific sculpture without making it about it specifically.
I have a question about the maintenance piece. Is that, because I think also with regards to the Metro Enhancement Grant, the money theoretically needs to be spent in the 2-year period. I think you have a 2-year period to spend
For
it.
the Metro?
You just have 1 year.
No, there's 1 year.
Oh, it's
for the
just 1
Metro.
year. I don't know, unless you ask for an extension. But still, it's not an
They
ongoing
used to
kind
do
of a supply.
extensions, they don't do them anymore.
So the maintenance that we would be talking about would need to occur within that 1 year. So trying to understand,
That's, yeah.
again, the scale of what we asked for. We, you know, it sounds like we would be doing a survey and then identifying which of those would need to be maintained within that year. So anyway.
And we would have the option of doing the sculpture we're talking about or something else.
I mean, you could word it that we're going for the inventory and then in the grant say, we will prioritize which projects needs to be refurbished first. Like we know, and most of the city knows, it's the statue because it's damaged and it's gone. But to keep it in line with the whole grant, to say, you know, and put it all out in the budget. This is what we're have in our budget towards somebody taking inventory. Then we will be prioritizing from that list, and the remaining funds will go towards the prioritization of the projects. And then that's general enough.
Right.
And everybody knows offhand, the first one is the one that's damaged and gone.
Yeah. Well, and it could help to shape that budget.
Yeah. And then the other question is, so then what we do with this RFP, if that's what we're gonna go for, what do we do with the RFP for the $6,000?
Change the number, or leave the number and.
Change the
Yeah.
number.
Change the number to what we want.
And release it in July or whatever, after we find out if we get it.
I mean, do we have to make an allotment for this money, like you said, that for the $6,000?
I think if you're deciding to use the enhancement grant, just make the decision about the enhancement grant first and worry about that later, I think.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah.
It's just like we have an RFP in place, we just need to figure out the budget, so we can just
Yeah.
put a pin in it and then go
Right.
back to it when we. If
And maybe the RFP is a
Just to
helpful.
make sure everything's right.
Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Just want to make sure everything right. So we're kind of doing a 3-pronged approach here. The enhancement grant going directly to the mayor and the council, and then the budget committee itself, and seeing what we can get out of, you know, in terms of additional funding for this project and additional projects going forward. Is that?
I think the budget committee is something completely separate. The budget committee is about, will there be the continued $20,000 a year support that they provided previously?
Let's ask for more.
Huh?
Let's ask for like triple.
Okay, well, anyway, it's separate from the budget committee request is separate from the Metro enhancement request, which is specifically about getting additional funding for this sculpture as well as the, you know, maintenance and inventory.
Yeah,
So they're
that's a
two
good
separate things.
clarification. That's a good clarification. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's,
And I offered to go to that meeting. Was I the only one going to that meeting? Was there someone else? And what type of coordination should I be, you know, working with the group on? Do we want to put together a proposal and send it around by email and try and get something put together for, it looks like they have a meeting next week, but likely we can get it done in a couple weeks? Is that?
I think it does make sense to have something in writing that would match your going, and I think going to more than one of the meetings makes sense.
I can't go to the May 4th, but I can go to the May 11th.
I think we should ask for $60,000 a year. I mean, we're not asking for money for ourselves. We're asking for the city to invest in its art.
Yeah.
Right, I think we should make the point there that if we're a city organization and they're supporting us, we shouldn't have to go for grants and fundraising. We shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Especially with the condition of the
Okay.
art in Oregon City that Oregon City owns.
So if Trius and Josh are the two people that are saying that you have the bandwidth and availability to go to the meetings, like, is it also like,
You can go if you want to.
no?
I'd go, but
Maybe.
it's physically impossible for me to go.
I was also going to reach out to Mr. Zook and just ask, get some more information on the budget. I was looking at the numbers online here a little bit and seeing if, maybe somewhere in the footnotes there actually is already some money allocated or, what. I just haven't had time to dive into it tonight, but that's also a plan, is to have a meeting with him, as a separate meeting or separate email exchange with him about that as well. And then I can circulate back to the group about, what might already be in there. And then it sounds like 60,000 a year is agreeable to the group for the next 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah, I always ask for more and
I'm asked for more. I go for
meet
100.
somewhere. in
For
the middle.
2 years, for 2 years,
100,000 a
that's
year
only
for 2 years?
50,000 a year.
Yeah.
I don't know about more than the 60, but I'll ask for more than you
60,000 a
expect,
year.
and then you can
Oh,
compromise.
60,000 a year?
120,000.
Oh, okay,
you're asking for
120,
60,000.
okay. I agree with
Here, I
that.
see.
I mean, one mural is $10,000 to $20,000. If we're gonna try to refurbish murals, that's a lot of money,
Yeah.
you know? So I do like 60,000 per year, 120 per biennium, or more.
60K per year with 20.
Yeah, I think we all.
I can also do it as a percentage of the budget.
That's what I like better.
Yeah, I like that better.
I like the 1%, I like a
The
percent.
last year's budget was about 250 million, so,
This one's 283, I think, million. So
and it's a biennial, so 140 million a year. So what would a good percentage of 140 million be?
yeah.
Well, I would calculate what percentage they gave us before and then figure out what we need to get this, at least the 60. And it's gonna sound like a tiny number, so
That's a good idea.
it's gonna sound tiny.
Yeah.
Well, like just a little, point two, whatever, like, that's all right.
So Josh, you said you were
Okay.
available on May
Sounds
4th,
good.
is that right? Or
Next Thursday, I think.
The dates that people are
Yeah,
available?
I'll even try and make next week's just solicit.
Josh.
And if you need 2 people, I can go next week.
And which one is next week? What date is that?
27th.
It's a week from tonight, so that's April 27th. So there's 4 of them. I mean,
27,
we don't
6
necessarily
p.m.
have to have someone at each one, but I think over the 4 meetings, maybe get hit in 2 of them, or, I mean, you could hit all 4, but
I think we should
you
hit
want
all
to try to
4.
hit.
And then we're bringing up the same
Make your
requests.
voices
each
heard.
time.
Squeaky wheels.
The fourth one is our regular meeting time, isn't it?
No, because it's really
Yeah,
soon from now. No,
The 18th?
Yeah,
I know it was the,
we're the 3rd Thursday, is that right?
Yeah.
May 18th.
It's the 18th is the last one.
Oh, that's
But I
right,
think it's
that's
at-
right, yeah. Yeah, no, you're right, yeah,
May
you're right,
18th
yeah.
is our, yeah,
Yeah.
you're
that's
right.
where.
I mean, we can't go as a, can that be our meeting? Like going to.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be great.
Is that not
Hi.
We're here
It could be a little pregame, right? Like, because that starts at 6 and then we can still convene on our business at 7.
I mean, we have a lot of ammunition. There's also a piece of artwork that was at Liberty Square that is completely gone. I mean, that was because that got so damaged. And then there's the one on 7th Street, and then there's all the murals that are just
well, those can all get
deteriorating.
listed and itemized in our
Yeah.
Metro grant.
Yeah.
All right, can we put a pin or a note or something in this one? Because we do have
Yeah.
another discussion item that I hope we can get to before the end of the night.
No, I think it's fine, I just want to confirm, we've got to, so which night do you want to go, Josh? I'm sorry. Just,
I'm gonna try and go next week just as a additional listen in and then get a feel for maybe what might be things we want to consider, and then put together the proposal for I think May 11th was when Commissioner Andrews could go.
Yeah.
I can go May 4th then.
Yeah, there's a May 4th as well, yeah.
Awesome. All right.
I have one quick tangent question on, that came up, I think it was in an email actually. Do we need to check what all of our art is insured for to make sure we, in the future, can replace any other damaged art?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Is there a way to get that information and figure out? Because I understand if they insured it, did the paperwork 20 years ago and
Right.
probably, inflation happens, but it's probably something we want to look at.
Yeah, like Lake Oswego considers their art sculpture program a collection. It's an art collection, and they appreciate it every year. They don't depreciate it, they appreciate it. And the insurance originally, when they were first installed, they said, even though we insure it, we can never depend on the insurance to be able to keep it up. We have to go for the 1.5% in order to keep them up to date and clean. So I think those are at least for Nicole, those were two different things. The insurance that covered it was completely different than actually keeping it up to date.
Yeah.
I think that's really good
And that makes
language.
sense.
No, it's a good question, Josh. I mean, what are the other pieces if something else were to happen? What would,
Right.
be fine. I'll find out.
To be talking to the city about our public art as our city's art collection and an art collection is an investment for them to see it that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's great.
Agreed. All right, speaking of the, I won't make any bad bathroom jokes. The next discussion item, selection of artists for the new public bathrooms to be located next to the elevator. Yeah, I don't even really quite know where to go with that conversation. Do we have?
So you remember that, so Josh was here from Public Works at our last meeting. He has asked for assistance. He would like for us, and I said that we could provide an RFP to help identify either one or two artists to work. And he clarified for me that the $5,000 that the Public Works Department has allocated is going to be to pay for the artist, both for the design of the outside and the cartoon map. And they've decided not to go ahead with interior artwork. So the $5,000 would pay the artist. It doesn't. That's not installation. So that's not.
Yeah, it's just a design, and then that
Yeah.
would be digitally printed on the material.
Right. And so we can have one artist. We can have two artists, but the two pieces that we would be designing are the map, and then the exterior design of the bathroom unit.
One of the things that was hanging me up on thinking about this was the dimensions. It would be nice to have the
I
dimensions.
do have the dimensions.
Yeah.
And in
Could we
fact,
get that in an email?
I wonder if there's
I
even a
feel like
way.
the new sparkly RFP we have can be really easily
Yeah.
adapted.
I was gonna volunteer. I would be willing to be the person to work with Josh on that and
To adapt it.
to adapt it, or even honestly find some calls that are even more specific that we can be inspired by. So, but cool. Yeah. Send me his digits.
And just to confirm, you mean Josh from Public Works, right? I just.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Josh.
That's good, because I thought you meant our Josh too.
My bad. Sorry, Josh.
Trying to figure out how I can display this. So I have the information from Public Works, and he gave it to us in time for last month's meeting. I wonder how I can best display
It's okay, it
this.
sounds like choir will work
Yeah.
Okay.
specifically with Josh.
Well, I can send this PDF to you. Yeah.
I just
have
want
all
to
the
say, this
dimensions.
is so exciting. I love this. And what did they call it? They had a funny Lou name to it. The what?
Portland Lou?
Portland Lou.
Lou,
The
but
Portland Lou.
Yeah.
The
I mean, it's
OC Lou?
basically about 5 feet, each panel is about 5 feet tall. Some of the panels range in size from 5 feet to, oh, sorry, that's inches, 51 inches to 71 inches.
yeah, I've used one of these Portland Loos. They're really spacious.
Yeah, they're really
Like when you think of a porta potty and it's just like
Oh, yeah.
telephone booth. So, no, these are big. You can get a whole family in one of them.
You can have a party.
Yes.
And where is it going to be located on Railroad?
So it's going to be right next to, so if you're standing in front of the entrance to the elevator, it's it'll be to your right if you're looking down the hallway. So south of the elevator entrance, they're going to go into parking lot spaces. So there's parking spaces. So not the first, not the second, but the third parking space. And the idea being so that if you were coming over the arch bridge, that line of vision, you're not.
Photographs.
The first thing you see is not going to be the bathroom. So
We'll be in the photographs.
so it'll be 2 parking spaces in, and I think it's going to take up 3 parking spaces.
Strange location, but I trust that they did all of the equations. Anyway, and so I know they had some very specific ideas aesthetically about it. But
Yeah.
I think they already had that written down that you can just translate
Yeah.
into the RFP. Well,
Thank
that
you for
is,
doing that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
What do you think the time frame would be? So they plan to install it in September.
Yeah.
So we would want to have, I'm not sure how long it takes to print it. I don't think that's a very big cost.
Yeah.
So if we were to develop an RFP, let's talk a little bit about a schedule, how much time we'd want to have it go out for, and
Oh, that's a good question.
I would think you could use those TriMet call to artists as an example, because I feel like they
That's a good
do a
one.
call out twice a year.
Yeah,
Yeah, they had one really recently too.
Yeah,
yeah.
and
It
it's
is
the same
bus
type
wraps.
of wrap that
Yep.
they would be wanting. So I probably can find it from Soul Flags and send it.
I mean, we could have one maybe ready, maybe choir could have one ready for us to approve by next month.
I could do that.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
And
that sounds
then
good.
that would give us like, if we approved it, then that would give us one month or 2 months for the deadline,
thank you.
which would be before the September installation.
Do you know if they're planning something for the pedestrian tunnel
Not to my knowledge.
Pedestrian
next
tunnel.
to Railroad Avenue and Highway
Yeah.
99E?
There is that little tunnel.
Very vandalized.
What were you thinking they
and-
were
Oh, yeah.
planning?
That,
Well, I don't know,
That
just like
one already is,
maintenance.
it's already artistically,
Something.
like,
I think it's embellished.
Actually, it's a
Seen Darth Vader.
Oh, the graffiti tunnel. I was
Yeah,
thinking of the
graffiti
tunnel. I was thinking the 7-Eleven tunnel, which is generally pretty
I love
clean.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mean like some type of coating to ensure that graffiti stays there forever? Is that what you're?
Well, it's peeling, like all the paint's peeling. and-
Can I throw some crazy ideas since I feel like we've resolved a lot of things and we have like 12
Okay.
minutes?
Yeah. I have an idea.
For the graffiti tunnel, I don't know if you guys have ever heard about this thing that happens in cities and in graffiti, that they make designated spaces specifically to allow for
cool.
graffiti art to happen in a
Yeah.
safe, intentional space.
Yeah.
That then can be like maintained, make sure it's not, offensive or inappropriate, but a way to channel that. And because that tunnel is just so gross and peeling and it is always full of graffiti, like what if we did some sort of intentional mural graffiti thing that would then be potentially rotated annually or whatever, I don't know.
That'd be cool.
But anything, so it's just like you're not inside a lead paint chip.
The other thing that I heard that prevents that is if you have children do a mural, and usually that's not touched, usually they even sign a, grade 4 from Holcomb School or whatever, that prevents people from putting to destroying it.
So I would think that we would want to have information about whether or not that's an ODOT tunnel or if it's an Oregon City, like who's in charge of it?
Yeah, I would bet the railroad.
Or the railroad, right? You know, it's kind of, and then be able to understand like the pathway to improvement.
Yeah.
Well, we're in process of finding contacts for the Union Pacific for a large triangular concrete wall that's adjacent to. And once I find a contact, I will.
That's why I think about the railroad.
I have been in touch with the man, so, because we're looking at a project for the railroad retainer wall. So, and he's been pretty responsive. So we had a meeting, we talked about it. We wanted to put a mural on the retaining wall that goes down Railroad Ave. He said, I don't want to get your hopes up, but I want to dash them, but I have to bring this to my, the safety and the liability. So I got an email from him last week that said, all they need right now is photos. Can you take photos of what way, so they know exactly where it is?
Wow.
And I sent that out to him like 2 weeks ago now, I think. So I just have to get back in touch with him. So whoever has anything that they want to do with the railroad, let me know, because I'll add, and.
I would love to have that contact name.
Are you wanting?
Aaron, say that again?
What part of the retaining wall are you wanting?
Well, this is the idea, is that we send out 4x4 foot boards to nonprofit organizations and schools. And they put whatever they want with the theme of community. And then those are all put together, like about 18 to 20 of them are all fastened on the wall, and the boards will have half circles so that anybody puts what they want, community themed, and then when they're put together, each one forms a circle with the one next to it. So it's just the theme of community going down Railroad Ave through schools and nonprofits and.
Is it the part from the tunnel down?
As you're facing the elevator, it would be to the left. So it was from the left to the elevator down to 8th Street, I think that is. Yeah, I think down to 8th Street.
I'd like to talk about the tunnel for just a minute.
Yeah.
So, the tunnel, I don't know if people really know this or not, maybe you do. The tunnel was part of what used to be when the mill was open. It was actually a pedestrian walkway that went all the way to Canema. And there used to be, the tunnel, it goes out onto this really dangerous sidewalk that runs along 99 all the way up to the falls. And then it keeps on going. And there's actually an old wooden path.
I've been on that, yeah.
That goes all the way to Canema, because a lot of workers used to live in Canema. And then also it had the extension that goes up, because it used to be like a way that people would just walk home. And that's why it was there. Now, of course, nobody walks on it, but
I go there every
It's
weekend.
scary.
yeah. But
I'm on that, in the tunnel and on the path.
Yeah, but it's like,
Do you run on?
I do, yeah.
we haven't really done any art projects yet about the history of the city, but this would be something maybe connected a little bit to that. I don't know. Or if we did RFPs for, I love the graffiti tunnel idea. I do. If we wanted to even go further into that space, we might think about the history of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and there's even that kind of exterior part when you first go in from the downtown side. There's a facade there, and then you go into the paint chip tunnel.
Yeah.
For some reason, in my mind, I don't know if you guys have, I think it's the Chicago O'Hare Airport that has that tunnel that you walk through. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? And it's all lit with the LED lights that
Oh, I
was
love that
like,
place, yeah.
obviously we can't do that, but I feel like we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to create an experience out of that tunnel.
Yeah.
That is the polar opposite of what it is right now.
Right, yeah, right now it's just scary.
There's the audio things that you can do that are.
Audio, I love the idea of audio.
Motion is active. My son did one a few years back, because he does a lot of crazy art installations.
Can we put a pin in this idea and
Yes.
not leave it alone, you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we want to spend a couple minutes? I know, sorry, I'm done.
No, you're good.
I know we sometimes do communications if we have time, but if you've got other things, then we can
No, I think we put a pin in it and love the idea, and we'll come back to it.
And the only question I have is, how are we doing on getting in the applications for that? Is that what you're, and can we?
We've
Did we get any
received,
applications?
we've received 3 applications so far. And I believe that there's a couple others that are being worked on, so I wouldn't be surprised. But we have received 3.
That's encouraging.
Neat.
Cool. All right, does anybody have any?
I have a quick thing that I just want.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, real quick thing I want to bring up. So I don't know if any of you have seen it. There's an Oregon City map, a story map, OregonCity.maps.archigs.com, and it shows all the public art in Oregon City on geographically located. It doesn't include any of the new murals that we have approved. So I'm wondering, I don't know who manages that map, but maybe it'd be worth informing them of the new pieces and trying to get them added.
Do you mean the map that's on the city website, or which one are you talking about? Not a map, but there's not a map. I'm thinking of the directory of public art that's on the city website. And then there's also.
Tour.
There's an Oregon City art tour map, and it
Okay,
has
thank
the Oregon
you.
City logo on it, so I'm assuming it's a city,
City art tour.
a city-run site, but it's Oregon City art map. And it has a lot of old pieces on there, but none of the new ones are on there. It looks like they took off the statue that was hit on 7th Street, so it is being updated, but yeah. Just wanted to throw it out there and
Okay.
see if we know who's managing that and how we inform them of new artwork.
All right. But is it the Visit Oregon City, the Oregon City, Travel Oregon City map? Send me the URL, please.
It doesn't say Travel Oregon City, it just says Oregon City Art Tour. Here, I'll put it in the chat for
Are you
you.
saying
Thank you.
tour or core?
Tour.
Tour, okay, that's what I thought, okay. I found it.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, well, that is happening. Does anybody have any announcements, things that are going on, happening?
I have a question. Are we allowed to promote the grant application like on our artist Instagram or something? Be like, hey, artists,
I
miss
don't
out.
see why not. I feel like we would absolutely want to do that.
I've had it in the chamber newsletter ever since it first came out. So it's been in about a month. And I contacted that whole list that I gave. I contacted everybody with email saying, keep your eye on for this. It's in. Here's the link if you want to apply. So all the different art organizations.
So I have 2 things to share. Soul Flags is doing a cultural event this Saturday, a free community Arab festival from 11 to 3. And we'll have free food, art activities, games, belly dancing, and music and dance
What time?
from 11 to 3.
Okay.
And some of it will be outdoor as well. And then I am on the grad party committee for the Oregon City High School, and we're doing a golf tournament on May 6th, and we are looking for participants and sponsors. So if you know anybody that might be interested, please look us up on the Oregon City School Foundation page. Thank you.
Cool. We have our Oregon City Chamber of Commerce Gala this Saturday night, the 22nd, starting at 4:30, with Ellen White and raffles and live auctions and all kinds of fun. And I'm exhausted. And only 3 more days and it's over, but it's going to be a blast. Full sit-down dinner if anybody wants to come. Live auctions for trips to Italy, Mexico, Bali, and some amazing silent auctions and a wheelbarrow full of liquor. Worth about $1,000 for a $10 raffle ticket.
Oh, my goodness.
So, every kind of liquor you can think of, and a $90 bottle of bourbon in there somewhere. So, anyway, that's it.
Anybody doing spring fling?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, yeah,
it's
that
the,
thing.
Trags, spring show. Gosh, my brain, yeah.
Okay.
Doing spring fling. Yeah.
Can you say that again?
Spring fling. It's the Trags.
Viewers
spring.
Artist Guild.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
sorry. Yeah, it's over at Pioneer. It's May either 7th, 8th, or 9th. I can't remember.
I think,
Friday
I
and Saturday,
think
or
it's when I'm
Saturday.
away, so I want to say it's like May 5th, May 4th, or 5th,
Let me look
5th
at
or
it.
6th, maybe?
That's
Yeah.
the Pioneer Center?
Yeah. 7th and 8th, because that's a Saturday, Sunday, yeah. Pioneer Community Center. Got it. Check it out.
If anybody's in Corvallis in May, I have a solo show of my work. It'll be like a decade's worth of my artwork. That sounds big, but the gallery's not that big. But my art over the last 10 years or so, Truck and Broad Gallery, which is like at the end of the strip down there. If anyone's in Corvallis in May.
Exciting.
I have some art up through the artist exhibition program through Clackamas Arts Alliance at the Sunnyside Health Center in Clackamas. So if you want to go hang out in the lobby of the health center with my art, it's there through July. So
Congrats.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming. Look at us finishing 8:30 on done.
Thank you, everyone.
So the mural location